back to the podcast, everyone. Been out of town the last few days. Had a dentist appointment this morning. I was like, crap, I got to get back to talk to Steve. But another one of my good friends on here, known Steve for a while. Steve Delaney owns Yard Boss. Introduce you real quick, and then let's get to chatting. But yeah, Steve, thanks for being here, man.
All right. Well, yeah, as Jonas said, I am Steve Delaney. I own Yard Boss. We are based in Lincoln, Nebraska. Doing fertilizer and weed control only, a little bit of pest control in the way of flea, tick, and mosquito. And really have revamped the business hard in the last 4 or 5 years from...
Yeah, we're going to chat about that.
We were doing everything, landscaping, mowing, irrigation, everything, and just made the turn in 2020 to focus on the fertilizer and weed control. And we really catapulted in the last 4 or 5 years on that.
That's awesome. So walk me back. Steve, you and I are in high school. We were like juniors, seniors in high school. Who is Steve?
Steve was the guy that most teachers did not appreciate in their class. I was not the guy who paid attention very well. I was not super studious unless it was something that I really, really grabbed onto. And then, I could get dove into for a while. I played football. I wasn't very good at it, but I did enjoy playing football. Had my friends and that sort of stuff. I was probably the guy that they never would have predicted would take this mowing hustle. I was doing the mowing thing in high school. They never thought there would probably be anything that it is now. And, a lot of these people are clients of ours. In fact, the school was a client of ours for 10 years for snow removal. That was an interesting thing.
Yeah, I have a story around that too. That's really cool. And then what did your parents do?
So my dad was a chef and managed kitchens, or still is. And then my mom, she had a cleaning business, and it was really just her doing the jobs and that sort of stuff. She never had any employees or anything like that. I since tried to convince her to get back into it with all the knowledge I now have. And that we have a lot of friends in the cleaning business, and she doesn't want any part of that anymore. She's moved on to managing the cleaning at a hospital. That's
really cool. I was just curious, like how you come up. So then how do you, like, obviously I'm assuming you don't go to college because this mowing thing starts to take off, or did you go to college?
I did go to college. So originally out of high school, I went for architectural engineering at the local community college, and I'm sitting there at a desk doing all these math equations and things like that. And I'm like, this isn't for me. I need to be outside. I like the mowing thing. And I knew mom and dad would lose it if I was dropping out of college completely. And so the same community college in a different location had a landscaping and turf management degree. So I transferred and got a landscaping and turf management degree from local community college.
Yeah, I think everything I remember. Now, you've told me that before. Now that you say that, yeah. Have you ever read the book by Dan Bilzerian?
I have not read his book. No,
it's wild. If you guys get a chance to read it, it's super fascinating. He's quite a character for sure. But he's sitting in college, and he had won $4 million the night before, or the weekend before, and he's sitting in college. And one of his professor comes up and is like, "If you make all this money, then why the fuck are you here? Or why the heck are you here?" And Dan looks at him. He's like, "That's the fucking smartest thing you've ever said," and gives him walks out. I'm like, that's savage. It's pretty cool. I don't even know why I just thought about that.
Yeah, college is a wild place. I actually did go for business thereafter. There's 3 locations. I ended up at 3 locations at this community college, and did business for 2 quarters. And I don't know whether I was cocky or right at the time, but I'm like, everything that they are teaching me is already being farmed out. Accountants and bookkeepers were taking care of this. And I'm like, it really wasn't relevant. And I dropped out of it. And I do honestly believe to this day, had I done that, the education I've gotten in the last 5 years through networking, consultants, that sort of stuff would have been, is much more valuable than what was taught at the school.
Yeah, I agree. And not to say that all colleges are this way, because I know it's not true, but a lot of the colleges, the professors never even ran a business before. So it's how can you teach someone when you've never actually been in the trenches doing it? Because they have no clue what it's like, maybe from a financial aspect or strategy, maybe in a way. But if you've never been there and done it, it's hard to teach anyone. If me personally, okay, Steve, let me ask you this question. I'll reverse engineer this a little bit. If you're like, hey, like I'm trying to learn business, right? Like I really need to learn from someone. Who are you going to go ask?
Yeah, I'm going to go ask a guy like you or somebody who's been through the ropes and that sort of stuff to do that. I mean, and that's who I look to now these days. Like last year, we had a little bit of a intellectual property issue with a competitor. And I'm like, who do I consult on this? I always say I got these consultants with my uncle owned a huge trucking company on the East Coast. And I'm like, I bet he's dealt with this. And I called him and like a whim, he knew exactly what I needed to do. He said, the lawyer you have now is not the lawyer for that. You need to go find a lawyer that specializes in this, and guided me right to exactly what I needed to do on that. Whereas, I'm sure there's some intellectual property classes and things like that probably wouldn't have got me to that answer as fast.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I have guy A who's teaching me a course that's never done anything other than teach. Or I have guy B who's built a $50 million company. Which one am I going to go ask a question? Which one am I going to go spend 30 grand on? Okay, I'm going to go spend 30 grand on the guy that has most of the answers.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so then we're going back to, I don't mean to cut you off, but going back to high school. Like how did the whole mowing thing start?
So I just wanted money. Honestly, when I was young, I wanted money to be able to do things. And so, man, I was probably 13 or 14 and took dad's lawnmower and started mowing for friends and neighbors. And I knocked on the neighbors' doors and, hey, I'm your neighbor and I'm looking to make some money this summer. And I would literally like push this lawnmower through the neighborhoods of this like milk crate with a gas can and a weed eater, a leaf blower, and that sort of stuff on it. And I would just go through the neighborhood and mow yards and pick up cash at the end. And man, I felt so rich back then. I'd go make $100 in a Saturday.
What grade were you in? Like sophomore, junior, senior year? What year was that?
I probably started in middle school, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
It was, so I saved enough money. And when I started driving, I paid for my first truck. I needed a truck to keep the mowing thing going, with the money I made, mowing. And then I was fortunate enough that I made enough money continuing to mow that I had a second personal vehicle, in high school.
So you're like a rich kid in high school.
Yeah, felt like it. I wasn't the rich kid. I mean, but it kind of felt that way. But I had plenty of money, and I did work some jobs here and there. My dad managed kitchens. I washed dishes for him. I did grounds and maintenance at a funeral home, just kind of like sweeping up and taking care of that. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but funeral homes are always immaculately maintained. And so that was a really nice job that was super flexible, that I'd go in and cut the grass and pull the weeds and vacuum the carpets and wash the cars and that sort of stuff pretty much on my own schedule. And then as soon as my intern was done with college, I went full time.
That was my next question. So when you go off to college, do you drop the mowing completely?
No, I kept it. So college was about 40 minutes away, and I drove home every weekend and kept the mowing. And then when people found out I was going to school for it, it started getting bigger and bigger. And actually, while I was in college, I was getting nervous. I'm like, I'm taking all this cash. And I'm like, is the government going to come after me? Are they going to find out? I think the year before I went into business, we had done like $40,000. And I'm like, the government wants their piece of this. Like, I need to do this before I get into trouble with the government. And so I started the business actually while I was in college. And in the summer, we would do some landscape projects, and I'd hire friends and that sort of stuff to help me out with those projects. And actually, some of the instructors hired us to do some retaining wall projects on their house and things like that while I was in school.
Are you sick of paying marketing agencies and not getting results? Well, we are hosting the #1 step-by-step class on how to attract and generate sales without paying a marketing agency or having a huge budget. Most lawn care and pest control owners get stuck at a ceiling because they're dealing with outdated systems or relying on guesswork waiting for the phones to ring. Our upcoming class this Thursday provides proven strategies to generate hundreds of leads without a huge budget. We'll show you how to build a predictable system to grow past $1 million. We show you how to automate your marketing. We'll also teach you how to delegate and build your team so you have more time. So click the link in the description below. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. This is the one thing that I wish I had learned a lot sooner. Now, let's get back to the show. And then, so you graduate from college, and then where do you go do it? Where are you doing an internship at?
I did my internship at a wholesale nursery, where basically all the landscapers come to buy their plant material. And my goal with that was I wanted to learn plant material as fast as I could, because my original goal was I wanted to do everything. Basically, you build a house, we landscape it, hardscape it, sprinkle it, sod it, and then we take over the maintenance on it. Was my original goal. That plan changed dramatically as I got into it. But that was where I felt I needed the most knowledge. And then the other thing about it, it was a pretty fixed schedule so that I could leave there at 4:00 and go mow yards and do my projects all evening and all weekend, rather than, you know how the industry is. The hours are, make your hay while the sun shines. And so when the weather's good, you're working a lot of hours.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. And, yeah, our industry is so seasonal, we got to grind hard. Okay. So then at what point, so you're doing the internship, you go full time, and then walk me through those first couple of years.
Ooh, they were rough, man. I mean, you feel like you're making.
What year is it at this time?
I graduated high school or college in 2008, 2009. So I had no idea the economy,
That's when I started 2008 too.
Yeah,
no
was it?
I was just mowing.
Yeah, I had no idea that the economy was in the tank, and I'm feeling really good. All these banks are calling us to mow properties, and I didn't realize that wasn't normal. And, I didn't grow up with money. So the economy didn't affect us. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like mom and dad were complaining that their stocks lost a ton of money and this and that. It's just same old thing. And I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, it was not normal that I was mowing 10 or 20 bank properties. So we're starting it. I mean, we're in the Midwest, here in Nebraska. So we're a little bit insulated from what happens on the coast, where when the economy spikes, it's a big spike. And when it falls, it's a big fall. So we kind of stay mediocre. And then I've seen this trend over the years that, we're very big ag in Nebraska. And so the ag economy was really good. So the farmers, were spending money on landscape projects and stuff like that. But I didn't realize how, because of the 2008, how hard I had to work to get those jobs. And I see some of these guys, they post an ad on Facebook. They're just out of college, similar to me. And there's a line of business and they're hiring their first couple guys because, it's just a much better situation to be entering into.
Yeah, it's a supply and demand issue, right? There's just more supply. A lot of people have a little extra cash, and yeah, times are changing. People just don't have a lot of time anymore. So they're willing to pay for services to free up time.
Yeah.
For sure. And so then you do that. And then again, walk me through the first couple of years. That was tough.
Yeah, it was tough. We hired our first couple employees. We were mowing and landscaping and doing everything. I'm working all hours. That goes on. We add a crew, we add employees. You learn along the way how to hire people, what to look for in the first couple of days of them working for you, and whether they're good fits and that sort of stuff. And kind of get the business to what the original dream was. We were going to have 2 mowing crews, fertilizer crew, and a full landscape install, hardscapes, softscapes, outdoor kitchens, retaining walls, that sort of stuff. And we got there and I hated my life. It was terrible. It was constantly, the phone was ringing. I had no support. Everything was hinging off of me. It was.
Are you using software at this point, or is this all Google Docs?
No. And so then, since somewhere in the mix, this smaller town a little bit over from us, there's a friend of mine who wants out of business, and we buy out his company, really good deal on that company, buy out about $100,000 worth of work.
We're already too busy. My life sucks already. Yeah, let's go buy more of it.
Yeah, exactly. So prior to that, I knew where every client was basically, because I had visited with them. I had been on site, and we just made a spreadsheet, for mowing or fertilizer, for example. Okay, Mrs. Jones is next to Mrs. Smith. So we're going to plug them in on the spreadsheet, print the guys a new spreadsheet, fire it over, and then they turn the spreadsheets in. You stay up all night, manually typing all this stuff into QuickBooks. And I have the misery got worse. And so this is an interesting story. I don't even know if you've heard this story. So you know Ted Glazer.
Of course.
Ted Glazer's a friend of both of ours.
Yeah, Ted's a stud.
And we're in the same market. I run into him at an engine shop one day, just fuming mad because one of my guys, we bought a brand new mower, brand new bagger, and within the first week, they had destroyed the bagger on this mower. It was like a $600, $700 bagger. And just got to chatting with him. I'd never met him before. We step outside and have a further conversation. And he tells me about software and service autopilot and all this sort of stuff. And I left there and just started banging away at YouTube, looking at all these videos and typing things in. And like, software is the key. So later that summer, I bought the software. I am illiterate when it comes to technology at this point.
So what did you find when you were searching on YouTube? Did you find service autopilot, or did you find Jonathan first, or what was that like?
Here's the interesting thing. I didn't find Jonathan on YouTube until after I met him in person.
Oh, wow.
And
That's crazy.
did not find the Log Care Millionaire stuff. So I found software and I did some demos and I found some other people on YouTube that were there, but I did it. And, back in the day, I had this thing. I'm like, I didn't trust what was on the internet, and you still can't trust what's on the internet, but I know how to vet out what is garbage and what is genuine now. And so I just kind of buzzed things through and I landed on service autopilot. So I buy it. I can't get it running. I am frustrated, and we're paying for the software, but we're still running our old process. And that's when Clarent has taken over the payment processing, and they called me for the 100th time trying to get me moved over. And I very abruptly told her that I can't run the software. Leave me alone. I'm not even processing credit cards. And an absolute professional, she's like, "Oh, there's this conference in Dallas where you'll learn how to run the software and that sort of stuff." I said, "Find me a ticket to that software today." And so she puts me on hold. She's like, "It's sold out and it's in a week." And I'm like, dang. So I'm cruising on Facebook and some guy can't make it. He's selling his house or something. And I'm like, "I will take your ticket." I had no idea how to Venmo at that point. He's like, "Venmo me the money." And so I'm out with some buddies at a Ducks Unlimited thing. I'm like, "Can you guys help me Venmo? I'm trying to Venmo this guy money for this ticket." 3 days later, I literally hop in my truck, drive from Nebraska down to Dallas. Did not have a hotel. I don't travel at this point. I don't know how this works when you get into these bigger cities and stuff like that. Every hotel's booked. And I find a Holiday Inn probably 20 minutes away that'll give me a room. And I show up there, had no idea what I was getting into. And eyes were just wide open. It turned out that it wasn't a software training course. It was a business development course. And that's where I met guys like you. And probably everybody that you've had on your podcast, or a lot of people that you've had on your podcast. I'm like, there is a way. This is better, but we got to get the software first. So then I flew back down in February of 2020 for in-house training. That's when Service Autopilot did in-house training. Got to meet Jonathan because I joined the academy when I was there at that conference in late 2019.
Is that SA2 or 3?
No, I think it was 6.
Oh, was it?
5 or 6, maybe?
Yeah, I think 17. Terrible with dates, but 17 would have probably been SA2.
Yeah, it was the tail end of 2019. I'm not sure. I think it was 5 or 6 or somewhere in there, but yeah. Then you just started talking to people and staying up all night, sitting at the bar. And, I ended up having lunch a couple of times with Jason Ashley Haynes. And I was telling him that my goal always was to do a fertilizer weed control, but I don't have a lifetime to wait on getting the clients. And they're like, "Oh, you got to meet Jonas, and you got to meet Brandon, and you got to meet Jeff, and you got to meet Josh." And they're doing it. And so I'm like, "Oh, where do I find these guys?" And so eventually found them, been to several of those guys' shops, learned quite a bit from them, and learned quite a bit from you, and just kind of steered the ship. And then we started basically dialing every service back. And we did a dimmer switch. I wasn't bold enough to turn the lights off. And
I did it, and I would tell everyone to not to do what I did. Just a fire sale, gone. That's that 9-inning quick start or 10-inning quick start, whatever. I think it's a 10-inning quick start that I am. I'm like, yeah, this business is gone tomorrow.
Yeah. And in my gut, I kind of wanted to do that because I knew we were going, but I didn't want to give up the revenue. There's just so much uncertainty, and there's also so much emotional attachment built to that, that you have. And it's like, breaking up with a girlfriend or losing a parent or something like that. Like, there's a lot of emotional attachment to what you built, and and
I think that's just like, but I also think that I know that at this point in business, like, for anyone listening, like, you can't look at it as it's your baby, which it is. You have to look at it as an investor. You have to look at it from the investor lens. Okay, I have this thing that's going 3% or 6% or maybe 10% at best, right? Doing landscaping. Not all landscaping companies that way. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, an average. And you're like, where's the best return on all this time and effort and money, capital, that's giving me a return of 3 to 6% or breaking even, or not making money? But yeah, you just got to look at it as an investor lens. You got this thing that's not getting any return, or it is getting a return. Like, is it better to fix this thing, or like, in your life has to be happy and you're gonna have to like the company, or you're better off like taking all your assets and your resources and dumping it into something else that you love, that is scalable, that is easier lifestyle. Like, what do you want at the end of the day? So I think just, yes, it is, like, to answer your question, not question, but saying, like, it's very emotional investment, and it is, but you have to change the lens, like, as you grow. Like, okay, I'm an investor now as a CEO. I need to get a return on this thing. And that's just how you get, but it is, you're right, it is emotional. But at that point, I was like, it's not making me any money. I'm fucking sick of this thing. Like, I just don't want to do it. I hate landscaping. Never liked to begin with. Only did it because I hired a landscaper that happened to like landscaping, did a good job. And mowing is easy. But then we had the FERT side and the pest side. I'm like, I love this part. I'm not one, like, even like, I did construction in high school and just like summer jobs too. And I hated being in one spot all the time. Like, I couldn't, like, I was on a job site for like 2 months or whatever, a month or whatever, maybe. And like, I'll still drive by construction sites and like still get this weird feeling of like uneasy. Like, God, I don't ever want to be like that again. So like, for me to like go to a landscaping job, I want to sit there all day. It's like boring as hell to me. Where I'm like, get in, get out, get in, get out. It's like probably that quick start to me, like, charge car, get in, do job, charge car. But then I also saw like the profitability side, going making 3% margins on this mowing thing, or 5% margins on this mowing thing, because we weren't doing pay for performance back then. Because I saw my hourlies, all my technicians were working hourly, so just like slow as hell or whatever, maybe your price wrong, whatever, so we weren't doing pay for performance back then. And then like seeing the profits on the pest control side, see the profits on the fertilization weed control side, and like, and scalability too, right? So you have this trailer and truck that's worth $100,000, making $1,000 a day with 2 people, or you have this $30,000 truck with 1 person that's making $2,000 to $3,000 a day. It's like, we're gonna get the best return. It's gonna be on these little trucks. So long-winded answer to what you're saying.
100%. And like, looking back on it, I would have ripped the Band-Aid off. I wish I would have done like you did. Went to the new market. I probably would have.
I'm not saying that.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Lincoln's not a bad market. Omaha's a better market. And Omaha is, not too far from here. But rip the Band-Aid off, and I don't know that I've got the personality to knock doors like you did. But put all those efforts into Omaha, and I gave that a try. But it's
like, but I put this on my story the other day for those who saw it. I'm like, being broke sucks, and working hard sucks, but I'd rather work hard and not be broke, because working hard sucks, or being broke sucks way more than working hard. And not that I didn't think that I had the personality to knock doors. Maybe I do now. But I didn't have a choice either. My back was against the wall. I just got rid of this thing that was making a couple $1 million a year. Didn't really have much of a choice. I'm like, okay, I'm just going all in on this thing, So I forced myself to do it. I was a little uneasy. Like I said, I about threw up on my first door, but I knew that my back was against the wall. I had to do something different. It was COVID time. I had to make it work. I just burned the ship in a sense, essentially, burned all the boats and went all in. And thank God that I did, because I'd have never known. And yeah, like, life's definitely changed for sure.
It's interesting though what an entrepreneur will do when your back's against the wall. Like,
oh, for sure.
Most people don't realize like some of the challenges that we deal with, year to year, day to day. Like I mean, we've had it all. We've had entire teams walk out the door, and literally overnight, we've got to rehire, find subcontractors, whatever it is to keep things afloat. Or in your scenario where you were shut down, and it's like, it's do or die. Like either the ship is going to sail or the ship is going to sink. And I'm not going to sit by and watch why the ship sinks. And it's crazy. I've watched so many entrepreneurs be in a tough situation that is, not a card of hands that they dealt themselves. It's, external things, and they just say it's go time, let's go. And the amount of sacrifice and sheer willpower to get through it always yields incredible results.
Yeah. And I think that goes to say for anyone that does anything in life, like I had so much conviction on what I was doing, what I wanted to do in life, that there's nothing that was going to get in the way for that. So people just stop what they're doing, be convicted in the thing they're doing, ultra focus, get really good at it. And people say that they work hard, and I understand it. Most of us do. Then there's a lot of people who really wish they were bigger or wanted to do more. And it's not a you thing. It's just like, it's a skill set thing that you just don't know yet. Like you got to go unlock that skill set. When you start unlocking those skill sets, like it's a massive unlock. It's a giant lever you can pull. It's like, holy crap, that was crazy. But again, like we all can do it. It's just like putting in the time and effort to go learn that thing and be a master at it and get super focused, And I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means. Do I work hard? Yeah. Do I put in the effort? For sure. But back then I was working hard, but I was working hard on the wrong things. So it's like finding those things that can really move the lever for you,
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the world is moving so fast. Like you have to constantly be learning that new thing. Like if you're constantly going to be the guy on the truck or the guy doing whatever task it is, like you have to learn. And I thought, we'd rebuild this business and get it to where we want. And then we just kind of sit back and it drives. But it's like every day there's something new, something changing, something that you've got to chase and say, is that like worth going because it's going to move the needle? The thing that I'm kind of studying a lot right now is AI. Like, I don't know how it's going to change the business yet. I mean, there's some cool things that we're doing with it, but there are definitely some avenues where it's going to change not only business, but day-to-day life.
For sure. Yeah. It's just going to be like, I've had many people on here that have talked about AI in the past month, but that's why I have the podcast, is so that we can talk about things like that with people who are very, very good in their industry, especially at AI, like what they see is coming because they're super close to it. What's coming down the pipeline, what's going to look like in the next 5 years. It's like, yeah, it's going to take humans for a while. And the word is going to be like, it's kind of like Chat GPT. Like it still takes us to do the Chat GPT. You got to insert the information and then it gives us the answer. It's probably going to be like that for work for a while too. Like we're gonna have to set it all up and then it's going to go do its thing. So like Jonathan said 10 years ago, like I was like, I'd ask him maybe 5 years ago, what is it going to look like? I think at some point it's just going to be like a station where you have like an operator that's in front of a computer that's going to go deploy 5, 6, 10 mowers, and they're all just going to drop and go out to do their thing, and they're going to go back, and the truck is going to move by itself. And like he was literally saying this 5, 10 years ago. That's probably why I was on the board at Robin, but like he saw it coming. And I was like having those people around that are close to it, like I can see 5 to 10 years, like what it's going to look like in the AI world. And I just think that's where we're headed for sure. But I think for a while, it's definitely take humans. I met a guy in Florida. I feel like I'm talking a lot today. I met a guy drinking a C4. Maybe that's why, energy drink. But I met a guy in Florida too that worked for, I think it was Ford. I think it was like he was on the robotic side in Ford, and said that they have robots right now that could literally go out and do pest control for us.
Yeah. It's really crazy. I've been kind of following those robots that Musk is making, where they're trying to basically have these robots put the tires on or whatever part it is on the cars. And I'm like, if they could do that, like, what else are they going to do in their life? They're promising that they'll cook and clean our houses, and
it says it's gonna be like 20 grand. There's gonna be 1 billion robots. That's what he says, in like the next 5 to 10 years, and then it's gonna cost the average person like 20 grand. It's literally gonna be like the Jetsons.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna be wild, and it's really interesting to see that shift. And then now the cars can drive themselves. So like, are we gonna have a robot sitting in a Cybertruck that pulls out a lawnmower to go mow the yard for the client in the future, or is the client gonna have a robot in their house that gets the mower out of the garage? Or is it like, I mean, it's crazy to think about this stuff. Maybe the robot has like hands that turn into lawnmower blades or something, you know?
Who knows? Yeah. It's hard to say.
It's kind of a wild thing to think about how things are changing. And, you know, kind of back to where we started with this is, you know, as a business owner and quite frankly, as anybody, you got to kind of keep up with this or you're going to get left in the dirt.
Yeah. And there's no manual to like, hey, how to start a business and how to run a business day to day. There's how to grow. Like, there's no manual. You just open and it's like step by step. Like you go to work and it's like an SOP and do your job. It's not like that for us. We don't have this big SOP that tells us how to get to 100 million.
No, we've got to create those SOPs for the rest of our team.
For sure. So going back to what you said, which I love. So you're going to sell this thing or get rid of all the services. How do you do that?
We just started dialing it off. We didn't really sell anything. We really didn't sell anything off. So we just one day quit landscaping, and we had a bunch of college help that summer, and they were going back to school, and we were going to have to go through that hiring cycle again in August and that sort of stuff. We had one good guy leading the crew, and I pulled him in. I said, hey, I'm tired. Like, I can't do this landscaping thing anymore. I'm burnt out on it. The passion's not there anymore. Like, had a very solid conversation. I said, what I want to do is I want to go head first at fertilization and weed control. And I told him, I said, I want you, we already had one guy full on fertilization and weed control. I said, I want to build your route next year. And so when we closed it down, we went heavy on aeration. He was able to cover aeration that year and keep himself busy on aeration.
How are you selling aeration? Or what was your
upsells at that point? We find yard signs work really good on aeration, and aeration is one of those services for us that, I mean, we can sell it really good. It's like most people in this industry are stressed right about now in the March, April time of the year. And don't get me wrong, we're busy, but aeration season is like our all hands on deck. Hang on tight because this is going fast. You got about a 10-week window to do aeration seeds and then regular aeration.
And you only do it in the fall, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, we only do it in the fall.
Yeah, same with us. So end of August through September-ish, somewhere in there.
Yep, exactly. We do aeration seed middle of August through end of September, and then we do regular aerations in the month of October, and then we roll right into Christmas lights. We added Christmas lights in a few years later, and that's been a fantastic business for us. The team really likes it because that has allowed us to become less dependent on snow. So we have that last big push to fill the bank accounts and pay the salaries through the winter. And then
were you doing snow prior? I mean, I know the answer.
Yeah, we're still doing a little bit of snow, but we used to do a ton of snow. Like we would send out 5 or 6 trucks, 2 skid loaders. It was a 12, 14-hour ordeal. And where we dialed it back down to is we send out 2 trucks for about 4 hours.
Not bad. Just small commercial or just residential?
Yeah, just small commercial. We never got into the residential. We really liked the commercial. I didn't. When we got into snow, I didn't like the high volume residential business. And now I don't like the commercial business. I like the high volume residential. But it was an interesting, transition there. So yeah, we put him on there. Then that literally like a month later. So I've got this longtime friend and mentor in the markets. He's reaching retirement age and COVID's happening. And, you know, the story of these older guys that are thinking about retirement are looking at COVID and they're like, do I want to go through another one of these challenges? Do I want to continue to deal with this? And he calls me, he goes, you remember how we've been joking about you buying this company for a couple of years? He goes, you want to go grab lunch and a beer and talk about it? I said, Roger, don't mess with me. This is 2 or 3 years down the pipeline. We've talked about it. He goes, no, I'm serious. And so we went and I was able to buy his company. It's about 800 clients. So we were able to fill out, 2 more routes. And we closed on that in January of 2022. And then we just continued to get rid of the landscaping, the irrigation, the mowing, all that sort of stuff.
What was the last thing to go?
Mowing. And then that was last spring. Well, mowing's an interesting story. I guess it was spring and we had quit putting our energy into mowing. So we weren't taking on a lot of clients. It had kind of whittled its way down, but mowing's an interesting story. So in July 31st of 2023, let's go back to January of that year. We're like, this mowing is tough. Our energy's not here. What do we want to do? So we formulated a plan and we said, if these people leave and they don't want to run the division anymore, we're getting rid of it. at all costs. Subcontractors, giving it away, selling it, whatever we can do with it. We're just going to be done with it because we realized that the mowing was a distraction to the fertilization. Like it was getting 50% of our energy but only producing 20% of the revenue.
It's probably in 80% of the headaches.
Yeah. And it was 80% of the headaches. Yeah. And it's always something. It's everything from equipment to customers, all of it.
You miss weed whacking on this corner of your house.
Exactly. It's just like minor things. And so we formulated that plan. So fast forward to July 30th of that year, a huge storm comes through, rips the roof of our building, completely flooded, pretty much total loss on our building that, keep in mind, we've only been in, we built it and we'd only been in for 18 months. So we're moving all of our stuff to a temporary location. It is not usable.
A lot of your equipment was damaged too, right?
Actually, surprisingly, even the computers I'm filming this on, we had before that. Somehow we saved everything. We got in and we just started shuffling stuff out like immediately. It continued to rain and like they ended up taking the whole building all the way down to studs, ripped all the electrical out, all the plumbing out. Like it was an ordeal, and we had a great construction team that did that. They put us back together in 3 months and dealt with the insurance. Yeah, but we're moving, and then as you know, mowing has such a tight schedule. That's one of the challenges with the mowing business. So we leave our 4 fertilizer techs to continue moving and getting us set up in temporary, and we tell the mowing team to go out and get started so that they're not behind. We're trying to protect our Saturdays, that sort of thing. And they go out and mow that day, and the truck gets parked in the temporary warehouse and nothing's unloaded, not ever. And I'm running around, trying to put out this building fire and deal with that. And I get a text from one of them. I quit. Sorry. Their reason. About an hour later, I get another text. I quit. I'm sorry. Another reason. Another phone call. I quit. Text. Another reason. So at that point, the entire mowing department
You're all
has
the
quit.
same day?
Yes, all on the same day. And they have all quit on there. Looking back, absolute blessing in disguise, but it was a stressful week. So we're running my offices out of my basement. We literally couldn't even get our desks in the doors because it's not a commercial space, and we had these big commercial desks. And so we have offices seriously set up. I was remodeling my basement. We literally flipped doors over on top of file cabinets to create desks in my basement for the office staff. And so we're trying to figure this plan out there, and we call everybody we know. And so we hire one sub to handle one part of town, and you hire another sub to handle another part of town. I told you, Ted got me into fixing this business and into service follow pilot. Ted was one of my calls. He goes, call this guy. I don't know their status. I just know that they exist and they're hungry for work. And within 2 days, we subbed out the entire mowing department, with a plan that when the season was over, they had to get us through the other season without rocking the boat. We just did not have the energy to turn it over to them with everything we're dealing with at the end of the season. All the mowing was going to be given to them, but they just needed to kill it on a subcontractor basis. So
were they just collecting payment? You're just collecting payment, give them
we're basically collecting payments and sending invoices. Yeah. And we're keeping a small percentage. We're keeping 15% for our admin fee, which, as you know, most of that's taken up in credit card fees and invoicing tasks. We weren't making any money on it. So we subbed it out, and that was officially completely off our plate spring of last year. And now we're just catapulting at the fertilizer. Yeah.
What's been, besides that, what's been the biggest game changer from that year to this year? Just we talked about it before, but what are your insights on having one core focus instead of 12?
Yeah. So focusing on one thing is I'm super passionate about this, and I wish everybody would get behind this. So when we built our shop, I started noticing that when the plumber came in, they poked a hole in the ceiling for the vent or the roof for the vent. I call him are you going to fix this hole in the ceiling and seal it up? He goes, we're plumbers, not roofers. Get your roofing company out there. Drywall team comes in. One guy hangs it. A whole other company muds it. Flooring on down the list. The electrician came in. I'm you're here, but we don't have any power from the pole. He goes, that's another guy. Call that guy. I'm wait, you're not going to bring the electricity from the pole to the building? He goes, we don't dig. We just install wires, in a nutshell. And it like really opened my eyes to this, that like stay in your lane, do your thing that you're good at, and things will go up. And I believe that especially about the green industry. Like, I don't think mowing's a bad business, honestly, but you have to focus on that business. And I don't think, and I see so many people that are mowing and then they're also fertilizing. They're like, I'm fertilizing because there's so much money in it. And I don't know that they actually know that there's money in it, because when you've got a guy that's maybe trimming bushes one day, maybe mowing one day, and then he's fertilizing for 4 or 5 days and that sort of stuff, everything is a business model. And the green industry just thinks if it's outside the home, we're going to do it. And we were that company at one point. And I'm super passionate to find your lane, be really good at it. You'll be super happy. Your customers will be stoked, and you'll be profitable.
Yep. It's like Alex always preaches, everyone always preaches the niche. There's niches, right? And plants or green industry is a niche, but then there's, like you said, there's sub niches too. The niches are in the niches. So it's go down a little bit, one step further. You got fur, you got irrigation, you got irrigation blowouts. There's so many different niches, and like Alex always says, don't make me niche slap you, because everyone just tries to be everything to everyone. And I get it early on, I've been there. You're just trying to grab at everything just to get work. But a funny story, it was just come back from Alex, is he was in a academy for gyms before he even owned a gym. So he was just thinking different at a young age, and majority of us probably aren't like that. So people who are listening to this podcast, think about what you're doing. And I'm not saying to quit mowing. If you're making a killing at mowing, just think about what you're doing. If you're doing landscaping and all you do is high-end landscaping, just do that, And I want to get into a reoccurring business, and then they drop this thing that making a ton of money to go get into this thing. It just takes a long time to build.
Yeah, it's all a business model, and I really do believe that you can make money at whatever, but you just get so efficient by doing so many things. When we had all of the mowing and the landscaping and all that, we had skid steers and stand-on skid steers and trenchers and fertilizer spreaders and mowers and this and that. And then on top of that, to keep those crews running, you got to have some sort of backup on that. So you got all this metal sitting around that you've paid for or making payments on, and it's not making you any money. Now, where we've dialed in, all this equipment leads every day, all the trucks leave every day, and it all makes us money, and it pays for itself very easily. And then I think that can be extrapolated out to if you're a landscaper, we're going to hardscape, we're going to softscape, and we're going to be the best at that. And I think part of it is people just don't want to say no. They don't know how to say no. And that's the most freeing thing, is to say no and have a referral for somebody. Hey, we don't landscape. Sorry. Hey, we don't do leaf cleanup, but I can't promise anything. We send a lot of people to these people over there, and they seem to be happy.
Yeah. One of my sales guys calls me last week. It's a true story. And he's bidding on this big property management company, all pest control. He's like, but they just have this one, and the fertilization weed control. And he's like, hey, but they just have this one section up by their sidewalk. It's probably a wheelbarrow full of dirt. He's like, so I'm just gonna throw that in the bin. I'm like, no, you're not. He's like, I'm like, how much dirt is it? Let's be honest. He's like, is it a bag? He's like, well, no. He's like, it's probably full wheelbarrows. I'm like, no, we're not doing it. We're not a landscaping company. He's like, well, I knew you were gonna say that, but I still had to ask him. They just sub it out, dude. It's a small job. You work with these contractors, go sub this small job out and still get the bid. But we won't even do little things like that. You just have to say no.
Yeah. And we find we don't even try to sub anything out. We find giving the referrals and saying no is actually beneficial. So in the moment, it's oh man, we just lost that bid because we don't mow and fertilize. And that's part of our selling proposition, our USP is that because we're doing this, we can be the best. You can guarantee
that's not our avatar. If they're not our avatar, there's nothing wrong with it. Go find the next one.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. Our avatar, is somebody who mows their own yard. Yeah. And it's interesting to be able to say no and feel good about it. And it makes you feel a little bit better when you say no and you have a referral from that. And so we have a list of referrals. We have sprinkler referrals. We have mowing referrals. We have like you name it, landscaping, all that sort of stuff. Like nobody, once they called in on something crazy, like, can you fix my roof? Anything in the green industry, we have a good referral for them.
Yeah, and it works best for everyone involved, because now you have an irrigation company that's willing to give you referrals for FERT. Like, that's how you grow these things. That's literally how we grow these things. So then you go all in on FERT. And what's nice about that is like all your efforts from marketing to sales to everything all goes towards this one thing. Did you see a massive growth in the business because of it?
We saw, to the bottom line, yes, because we were able to then take that acquisition I did. We were able to like sell them the ancillary things, the aeration, the stuff that goes with it, the plant healthcare, that sort of stuff. And I mean, we went from in 2019 when I made this decision, I guess, to put numbers on it. We had probably 300 customers and about just shy of $90,000 in revenue, and now we're well over $1 million in about 4 years. Through marketing, acquisition, clients, all that sort of stuff. It's been fun the whole time. Like, it's not ever been like, holy cow, how do we get all this stuff done? Because we were focused on it. We knew what the plan was. Like, even today, somebody could drop, 1,000 client acquisition in our lap, and we could take it because we're good at this. We know what we're doing. You've spent so much time working in this space. Yeah.
Sure. So this is your second full year of FERT only?
This is our second where we don't have anything else, is FERT only. Yeah. And it's crazy too. The other thing we're seeing is the churn. The churn is going way down. Now that we're focused on this, we don't have other divisions basically making the fertilizer division look bad, for whatever they do. It is common, like when you're mowing, like you'll break a gate, you'll run over a gutter, downspout or whatever. And obviously the customer's not happy about that, and they shouldn't be happy about that. But the mowing department then, kicks the fertilizer department in the shin. Yeah.
Where do you see your churn at now?
We are just under 12%.
Damn, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It has fallen dramatically in the last year.
Yeah. Are you just billing per service? Your prepays? What are you guys doing?
We do prepays, and I would not recommend that. It is a very stressful. January should not be stressful, but it's very stressful. There's not a good system out there that manages prepay and can manage the rest of it really well. And we have looked under every rock to try to find it. There's one we're talking to that might be a good fit. But it is just tough. So we like the prepay. And I originally did the prepay back when we had everything going on. I'm like, I had nothing to do in the winter. Let's eliminate me sitting in front of a spreadsheet, creating you an invoice manually for $60 for your fertilizer treatment. And I'll front load all that work and not have to process, hundreds and hundreds of these checks and that sort of stuff. Cause we were on credit cards before we got Surface Autopilot in 2020. So it was like a huge manual process. And so we got on it from there. That acquisition I did, they've been around since the 70s, and they did prepayments too. And so it's like, we can't rock the boat too much with these client base. And so it kind of works out though, because like we have money right now that we can market with. Like, we can't be frivolous and do crazy things and stuff like that. We track it daily, what's going on, client costs, conversion rate, those sort of things. And, but we've got some money to be able to do that with and be able to expedite that growth. Because this industry, you got about 10 weeks to really get the majority of your sales.
That's why everyone asks me, like, well, what should I set my budget at? I'm like, well, you tell me. And then I would front load the majority of that in the first 2 months. I'd rather put my marketing efforts there, because the rest of the season starts to slow down until you get to aeration, overseed, on the FERT side. You get some grub season in there too. I don't know if you guys get bad grubs, but we run into that from time to time around here. But it's not like spring. Is it spring there for you yet?
Oh yeah, we're about done with round one. It is windier than I think it's ever been. We keep getting shut down for wind. I can actually hear out in the shop vaguely. It sounds like the guys might have called it for wind. I hear a couple trucks pulling in and stuff. So,
how was your spring as far as marketing goes and sales? Is it a good year?
So marketing has been interesting this year. So Our GMB got shut down because we got a new location, and it just got reinstated on Monday. It was shut down for 4 weeks.
A couple questions there. One, who did you reach out to get it fixed? And B, you answer the question, how long did it take to get back up?
Yeah, so this is kind of a story. So we like many people that service multiple markets, we had a GMB in another market, in our better market, and it was on a house that I resided in many years ago, and I never moved it, in Lincoln. And as you know, Google's cracking down hard on these GMBs, on residences and stuff like that. So our marketing agency said, hey, you need to go lease a space somewhere, and eventually maybe you move there or whatever, but you need to lease a space that is a real business space. So we went and found a contractor bay in that market, and we leased that contractor bay, one of them 30 by 70s, whatever. We leased that bay. We'll use it a little bit, but it's really there to have the GMB and have a real location. So we went to move that first one over to that, and they denied the first video. We did a second video, and they suspended us. And so our marketing agency, who's been leading this, he's like, well, I've talked to Google. None of your paid ads account are associated with that. They're all associated with where your actual shop is. Let's move that location to this too, and try to combine the two pages. And so that worked. But the first video that we submitted, they said, no, you didn't get enough of the surrounding area. They actually gave us some feedback on it. And so we submitted another video. And finally, Monday, 4 days ago, we got it live. But that's been kind of crappy on marketing because we haven't had that. So we've been spending on Google to put our name up there instead of letting the organic. Before, we were like on the map pack, we were consistently ranking third. So it's been a bit of a challenge we've been spending on there. But the interesting thing this year, and I don't know why, our close rate is incredible. And our pricing and everything's in line. We've checked all that, but our close rate is above 70%. And so that's making up for our drop in leads from this Google situation.
Interesting. Do you think who's doing the sales on the phone? Is it you or someone else?
Somebody else. I have an office manager that does the majority of the sales. Yeah. I help a little bit with it, like if I'm in the office and she is on the phone, I'll grab a call here and there. And then the one thing I still do in the business is what we call tickets, where, sometimes a client just wants somebody to put eyes on the yard or has specific concerns. So I do, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 of those every Tuesday and Thursday. And so there's a little bit of sales that come from me there, but the majority is the office manager.
Awesome. That's really cool. I know I told you we go till about quarter after, and that's where we're at now. So I'll end with a few questions. What's the goal for you personally and for the business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So you and I haven't talked about this, but I think this is something that you would get really excited about. Last year I lost 50 pounds, and
I was going to mention that here shortly. You look great. Yeah.
And I've dramatically changed the way I eat and what I eat. And
I think actually Aaron told me last week or the week before that you've been really working on yourself.
But yeah, we've been, Aaron Husky. Sorry. I was trying to figure out who you're talking about. That was bugging me. Yeah. So, I'm not crazy like you. I should say crazy, but like as committed as you, where you go to the gym twice a day and basically 75 days hard is a lifestyle, not a 75 days thing. But I try to walk for an hour, 2 or 3 times a week. When I was really getting there, I was doing it every day, like religiously. And, it's interesting that I found like low carb or no carb makes me feel amazing. So personally, I just want to stay on that because I've done this before in my life where I do good for 6 months, get where I want to get, and then revert back to the old habits. So that's really kind of getting back to, when you go through those, you're working so hard on it, and you may like skip out on the barbecue or some of the alcohol or something like that. I don't want to be alcohol free, like no alcohol. I want to be able to have a social beer, and I want to, be able to, I love pasta. So I don't want to completely skip pasta, but finding that balance to where it's super strict and still feel good, look good, that sort of stuff.
It's really cool. You trying to lose more weight or just stick where you're at?
I think I'm good where I'm at on the weight wise. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I'd like to put on more muscle, but I don't have the drive for the gym to go and I think
a lot of it too is just finding the right person to go with.
Yeah, and that might be some of it too, is the right gym. Maybe for starters, a personal trainer.
Not even that, just like someone you just like to hang with that likes to go to the gym. It makes it so much more fun to have a buddy or two that's just in the gym with you, talking guy stuff or whatever it may be. Just having that time of day for 45 minutes where you get to hang out with your buddy, chat, not talk about work, just work out hard. It's for me, yeah, like you said, it's like a lifestyle at this point. I have to go to the gym twice a day.
But yeah, so that came about because I was just feeling tired, and I watched what you did. I watched what John DeCosmaker did, and I talked to John quite a bit about it at one of the conferences. And then one day I just I'm tired. I was like, sugar was giving me indigestion to the point that I couldn't sleep. So I'm like, sugar's out. And actually I did that kind of interesting is every month I cut something out. So January of 2024, I cut sugar out, and then I cut processed snacks out in February, and then on down the list and added something in all the way to August.
Cool. So by January, you'll stop drinking. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. You know what most people say is what month is the tobacco leaving is what I get from a lot of people. And I said, well, I don't know. I haven't found that month yet.
Yeah, for sure. I know another buddy that we know, Brandon, he just quit chewing too. So it just takes time, and I guess everyone has their vices and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's just it's just another habit, a bad habit that you just got to kick. It just takes time. So what the business goals? What are your business goals?
So business goals this year, actually our goal is to try to stack some cash this year. So that we have some things set aside or some money set aside to be able to do some of the cool things that we talked about when they come up, whether it be an acquisition, whether AI come out with something crazy that we want to get involved with, that sort of thing. So that's one of our goals. We obviously want to continue our growth of 20% growth annually. So that's a big goal of ours. And every year we seem to break the record of how many clients we get, how low the churn gets, that sort of stuff. So one of our big targets is our churn's at 12% right now. I really want to see that at single digits. Like that would probably get me more excited than anything to have churn in the single digits.
But it's not even so like with churn too. Like let's just say you're getting looked at by private equity or like an investor. Like one of the key metrics that they look at is churn. And if you get you'll get an extra point on your evaluation if your churn's below a certain percentage. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
For me, it's really the churn is really about like what our mission is. And our mission is to be the best. And I feel like if you are the best, then your churn should be the lowest in the market.
I agree. You're never going to get rid of churn completely. It's just nature of the business, right? You have people moving, you have people that aren't satisfied, you have people that can't afford it. It's going to happen. But yeah, the lower you can keep it, the better.
Yeah. So we spend a lot of time on churn and customer service and that sort of stuff.
What are some things that you've implemented to help with your churn? Besides your prepaid, can't count that. That's the lowest churn there is out there.
I don't know that might be. I never looked at it as a churn thing. Actually, the way I look at it is as painful as it is, it tells us when we get to the season where our cancels are and how much work we got to do to fill the hole back in before we can build. So we have empowered our technicians to do as much as possible. So we retain our technicians all year long, and that has worked out really good. So we found that we got one guy that can work on Fords. We own all Fords. We've got one guy that can weld. We build like our racks, all their spreaders on the back, and some different things like that. And then everybody's mechanical, so they do that. And keeping the same guy on the lawn seems to help. They all have their territories. They cover their territories. And yeah, there's some variation every once in a while, but covering that territory, communication has been the thing. So we text, we have gotten texting down, email, phone call, whatever the customer prefers. And then, just honing in on customer service for the guys. And then we actually send an email out, about 10 days after the service. And it says, you should have expected to see this after the service. Did you see this? If everything's great, we ask them for a review. If you did not, we are here to open up the conversation and get this right with you. So we'll see out of that there is weeds along the edges. Like that happens, right? It's not really bad service. It just happens. So we send the guys out, no charge for a service call on that customer. And then after that service call, 2 weeks, our office calls and said, hey, did that service call take care of your issue? And if there's something that's not right there, that might prompt myself or somebody else to go out on the job and take a look at it. It might just be that they've got nutsedge, and nutsedge is like really hard to kill, and we need to get a second hit on it while it's kind of wilting and dying. And so that's been contributing to it. And then it's just like we have a KPI sheet. Most business owners have a KPI sheet, but there's a handful that we post on the TV, and it's part of our culture now that like and we phrase it differently in the office. We call it retention. And out in public, we call it retention because I think that's a less negative term. So out on the TV in the shop that has like their load list for the day and that sort of stuff, and how many reviews we got, it also has the retention up there. And so that's something that everybody's striving for.
So the overall goals for the business next 3 to 5 years, where are you trying to get to?
That's $1 million question. I would really like to be at about 3,000 clients in the Lincoln market. And so we're at about 2,000 right now. So we got a little ways to go on that. And then I really have my eyes set on a second location in Omaha. I've had that goal and that dream for a long time. I mean, probably 10 years that I want to do a second location in Omaha, but there's a right time to get there. And just saying today's the day, I don't think is the right time. I mean, we kind of talked earlier that sometimes you just got to YOLO it and go for it. But I feel like there's a little bit more fine tuning to what we have here that it can like I don't have to show up for months.
What I always say to people when they ask me this question is that if you're not the market leader in your own market, don't move. Become that first. We take market share and then move. I'm different. I would say that I was like the anomaly because I was the market leader in my area and I couldn't grow anymore. There's literally 12,000 people in my town.
I feel that. I mean, we're headquartered in a town of 8,000 people, but it's really close to Lincoln.
Right. So I feel your pain there. So I would just say become the market leader, get your branding on point, which it is. Your marketing on point, which is probably getting there, get all that stuff together, become the leader, and then go. And then stack some cash because it takes way more than what you think.
And that's pretty in line with what I have. I still feel like we have some runway. And, we were talking about it earlier. I want to be 5 Mile famous. I want everybody in the market to know that we exist, whether they need our services or not.
Yeah, I love it. Cool. I love that, man. Well, I love watching what you're doing. It's been a fun run to watch you, come from where you started. So
it's really fun to watch you too, man.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride for sure. And, I'm glad to be your friend. I appreciate all the conversation we have outside of this. So good luck with everything. I'm sure we'll talk soon. And thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. See ya.
See ya.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, obviously, but the podcast isn't free. You can pay for the podcast by sharing it with your friends and your family. So please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. These things make a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions you want answered about the business or your life by me or my guests, send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about any personal business coaching, check out our website at www.pestcontrolmillionaire.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys again on the next one.